first thing to know about buying a new townhouse condominium or condominium apartment is the cooling off period. At the time of signing the agreement of purchase and sale, you receive something called a disclosure package, which contains a variety of information about the condominium complex, the financial situation of the condominium corporation, and what you're likely to pay in terms of condominium expenses. If you have any doubts about closing the transaction, you have 10 days to contact the builder to get out of the transaction and get your deposit returned without penalty. One of the most important issues you need to be concerned about when buying a new townhouse condominium or condominium apartment is what is the development that is expected to take place in the immediate area. This is going to affect your decision whether you truly wish to buy, because if you're expecting trees, ravines, and parks nearby, if that doesn't happen, you're going to be disappointed after closing. So you need to contact your local municipality and find out what development is expected in the area and see if you can live with that development if it takes place after closing. Although the purchase price is clearly set out in the agreement of purchase and sale, the agreement itself will contain a number of provisions dealing with costs that the developer will try to pass on to you. The only thing you can do about this issue is to have your real estate lawyer review the agreement of purchase and sale and see if the costs are going to be capped or if they're going to be itemized. If not, your lawyer will provide you with an amendment to the agreement of purchase and sale that you can take back to the builder and see if you can get some definitive answer on what the actual closing costs are going to be. Now let's talk about buying a resale condominium apartment or townhouse. The first thing you need to know about this process is your realtor is going to obtain for you a package of documents which talk about all kinds of issues related to the condominium. Let's go through them one by one and talk about them. First, it's the status certificate. The status certificate essentially talks about the unit itself, the health of the corporation, and generally gives an overview about what is happening in the condominium complex and the unit itself. This is probably the most important document that the lawyer needs to review, and from a review of that document, the lawyer can find out whether there are any particular problems with the unit and whether there are any particular problems with the condominium complex itself. One of the documents in this condominium package that your realtor is going to obtain for you is something called a reserve fund study. The reserve fund study is a document that is prepared by an engineering firm that has looked at the condominium complex and has reported to the condominium corporation the amounts that it will expect to pay over time for repair and replacement. What the lawyer is looking for is how much money the reserve fund is going to be over time for repair and replacement, whether it's going to be adequate for the repair and replacement of the condominium elements and the building itself, and more importantly, how much are you expecting to pay every year and whether those amounts are going to be going up over time. So if the agreement of purchase and sale says that your condominium expenses are going to be X over the next couple of years, only the reserve fund study is going to be able to verify whether that representation in the agreement is in fact true. Next, let's talk about the physical inspection of the condominium unit or townhouse unit. The reason why this is so critical to your buying process is you want to check the unit for any unauthorized changes to the unit. Simply, the condominium corporation will not allow you to make any changes to the unit without their consent. So if there are unauthorized changes, you may be liable for restoration work after the closing that can add up to thousands. So what you need to do is obtain the original layout drawings from the property management office and give those to your property inspector and compare the actual unit to the original floor plans to see if there are any unauthorized changes or changes of any kind. How many units are actually rented out? A lot of people buy townhouse condominiums or apartments for rental income purposes. If the complex itself has a lot of tenants, then this may affect the market value of the unit that you are buying. So that's a critical piece of information that you need to know about, and you can ask your realtor whether the number of units being rented is likely to affect the resale value of your unit. Next, let's talk about buying a residential property that isn't a townhouse condominium or condominium apartment. The most important part of that process is the agreement of purchase and sale. Before you sign the agreement of purchase and sale, you want to make sure that you have two conditions in there. The first condition is condition on financing. That condition essentially allows you an opportunity to try to find financing that is affordable to you. If you can't find financing that is affordable to you, then you can exercise that condition and allow yourself out of the deal without any penalty. The second condition that you want in the agreement of purchase and sale is a condition on solicitor's review. The reason why that condition is so important is it gives your lawyer an opportunity to review the agreement for unreasonable clauses and gives him an opportunity to try to either strike out those clauses or amend those clauses. In addition, you're going to give your lawyer an opportunity to review the agreement of purchase and sale for closing costs that the builder is going to try to pass on to you. Sometimes this can add up to thousands of dollars, and this condition will allow the lawyer an opportunity to try to limit those costs to you on closing. Warning clauses are just that, warnings that the municipality requires builders to register on title so that potential purchasers of the property will know certain things about the subdivision and the area generally, like availability to Catholic schools or local schools, things that would restrict your ability to use your property, the development of commercial endeavors nearby, or the possibility of noise. All of these things are registered on title and will be reviewed by your lawyer, and he'll tell you whether any of these warning clauses are critical and bring things that are out of the ordinary to your attention. After you've closed the purchase of your new home, the land taxes will have been assessed, but the taxes on the home will take several years to assess. It's important that you set aside those expected taxes every month, because in several years, when the taxes are assessed, you're going to be asked to pay all of those taxes all at once. If you need assistance calculating what those taxes are going to be, you can contact the local tax department, or you can ask your bank to take those tax payments every month along with your mortgage payment. Next, I want to talk about the GST new home construction rebate. Generally speaking, you will be entitled to a rebate of approximately 2.8% of the GST when you purchase a new home. The important thing to know is that that home has to be used as your personal residence. If it isn't, then you don't qualify for that particular rebate. If you are planning on purchasing the property for rental purposes, there is another GST rebate program, but you have to inform your solicitor of your intentions in order to qualify for one of the two rebates. Next, let's talk about buying resale residential property. One of the most important parts of that process is having an inspection of the property prior to being committed to the transaction. The reason is simple. There could be any number of problems with the property, and you need to know what those problems are before you commit to the deal, because it could add up to thousands on closing. In the agreement of purchase and sale, there will be a description of the frontage and the depth of the property. Before you actually commit to the deal, get a copy of the survey if it's available and walk the dimensions of the property, because if the dimensions of the property are different from the agreement of purchase and sale, you may not be entitled to any compensation or to even be let out of the deal if the deal is firm. If you're planning on buying a property but intend to rent it out, you need to tell your bank of your intentions to do so. The reason for this is banks don't like to lend money out with respect to properties if they know that a tenant is going to be living there. It impairs the bank's ability to enforce on the mortgage in the event of a default. So long as you are upfront with the bank about your intentions, there should be no problems on closing. Another important issue is, on the day of closing, to make arrangements to change the locks yourself or to arrange for a locksmith. The reason is simple. On the day of closing, you can't be sure that all of the keys to the property are going to be tendered to you on closing. Friends and relatives might have keys from years ago, and what you want to avoid is having one of those people show up expecting to find the vendors there when you're sitting down and having your nice dinner on the first night of your closing. Last but not least is the issue of buying a property in the country. Suffice it to say, buying a country property has significantly more issues than buying one in the city. Issues like the septic system, the well water, whether there are any farming rights or mineral rights attached to the property, all of these issues can complicate the transaction. So it's important before you actually commit to the transaction to speak to your lawyer about these issues and see if any of these issues can be covered off or dealt with in the agreement of purchase and sale prior to the deal becoming firm.